Welcome, and thank you for joining today's Elevate and Empower event. My name is Elizabeth Pravat, and I will be your technical producer for today's event together. If you run into any difficulty during the presentation, feel free to reach out to me via instant message, and I will help you out with that. And I would like to just get a quick thumbs up from the group to make sure I'm coming in loud and clear. All right, and seeing some thumbs up coming in there. So that also tells me you know how to use the reaction features through Teams. So you are highly encouraged to use those throughout today's class. We would also, I would like to cover a couple of housekeeping items before we jump into the content. Your microphones should be muted. I did notice we might be having a little bit of difficulty with the team setting where microphones are maybe showing enabled for some of you. So just be aware of that and make sure that you are keeping yourself on mute throughout today's session. You are encouraged, as I mentioned, to use the reactions within the Teams feature. And if you would like to place some comments or questions into the chat, I will be monitoring that throughout the presentation, and I will be reading your questions to our facilitator throughout the session to get those questions answered. So please feel free to participate in that way as well. We have enabled live captioning within Teams. If you'd like to access this feature, you can click the More Actions button, which is the three dots at the top of the screen. Then click on Language and Speech, select Turn on Live Captions, select English, and then confirm. Finally, your feedback is very important to us. So at the conclusion of today's class, I will be sending a brief survey for you to complete, and we would love to hear what you think of today's event. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our facilitator for today. We are honored to have Ms. Tawana Mabin with us. She is a supervisory human resource specialist with the Office of Human Capital Services. Ms. Mabin, we are honored that you are here with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome. So good afternoon, everyone. Again, I am Tawana Mabin, and I currently serve as the Assistant Chief of the National Recruitment Team in HRPMO. I have been with VBA for 2 years this coming October. And so in some of my previous roles, I have been with the Department of Defense, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and the Educational Activity. Next slide. I want to welcome you to the power of recognition. In this course, you'll explore how recognition fuels engagement, morale, and team performance. You'll learn about different types of recognition, when and how to use them, and how to build a culture of appreciation in your workplace. There will be some open discussion questions on ways to recognize preferences of recognition and committing to recognition. Lastly, you'll have time to reflect and develop an action plan. I like to share a well-known quote with you. What gets recognized gets reinforced, and what gets reinforced gets repeated. This quote resonates with me because recognition signals that a behavior is valued and appreciated, that acknowledgement serves as a positive reinforcement, making it more likely the individual will continue and repeat the behavior in the future. Next slide. Now, this course harnesses the impact of meaningful recognition to boost morale, engagement, and performance. Participants will explore effective recognition strategies from everyday appreciation to structured reward programs that aligns with organizational goals. By the end of the course, supervisors will be equipped to create a culture of recognition that motivates employees and strengthens team success. At the end of the course, participants will be able to understand the business case for employee recognition, differentiate between the types of recognition, apply practical recognition techniques, and create a culture that values appreciation. By the end of the course, participants will have tangible tools and a new mindset toward recognition. Now, here at HCS, we are proud to have such a robust award program that not only celebrates individual and team achievements, but also reinforces alignment with the agency's mission and core values. The Avenger and Lift Awards recognize employees who go above and beyond in embodying the HCS principles of excellence, collaboration, innovation, and service. These awards are more than just recognition. They serve as motivation for continued personal and professional development. By aligning personal efforts with agency goals, employees are encouraged to grow in areas that directly contributes to HCS success. Recipients of these awards may receive monetary bonuses or time off incentives, further underscoring the organization's commitment to both performance and well-being. Now, I want you to think about and share why recognition might matter in your current role. And as Ms. Provette said, please use the chat to drop some of your reasons why you think recognition might matter in your current role. Ms. Provette, do we have any additions to the chat?
Yes, we have some thoughts coming in about why recognition is important. Folks are saying that it's a validation of efforts, it makes them feel valuable, it builds confidence, feeling valued, and more votes for validation, and then boost motivation and engagement. So a lot of good thoughts there.
Thank you so much. Next slide, please. So before we dive into the course content, I am going to drop a poll to get a better understanding of you all's exposure to recognition. Now, in the past 7 days, have you received meaningful recognition at work? And I'll give you all a few minutes just to make sure you respond to the poll.
So once you make your selection in the dialog box, you can click the submit button, and then you can click close that dialog box and you'll be able to view the results in the chat. Ms. Mabin, at this time we have 65 responses and 57% of participants have said yes, they have received meaningful recognition, and about 43% have said no, and 1% is unsure.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Next slide. Now, the All Employee Survey, the 2024 data, VA's most recent data, captured information on recognition. The 3 questions above compares VA and VBA responses. The data shows that VBA had a slightly higher results in each category. VA had 348,786, 340,296, and 346,604 responses for each question, which was a response rate of 75.33%. Now, while VBA had 29,405, 28,185, and 29,083 responses for each question, which was a response rate of 89.46%. Now, looking at the all employee survey means of items when it comes to recognition, VBA trends favorably on items related to recognition, with a noteworthy strength in one's own VBA supervisor regularly expressing deserved recognition and praise to its employees. These scores represent an organizational baseline to continue, reinforce, and strengthen. Now let's reconnect on why recognition matters. Next slide. Now, new research from Gallup and Work Human evaluated the relationship between recognition and turnover by tracking career paths of nearly 3,500 employees between 2022 and 2024. The findings strengthening evidence that employees who receive high quality recognition, defined by 5 pillars of strategic recognition, are more connected to the organization's culture and more likely to stay at their organizations in the future. When you consider strategic recognition, it generates employee engagement. The amount you receive makes sense to you. Being authentic, it isn't just a checklist thing. One size doesn't fit all. So personalizing is giving fairly without playing favorites, being equitable, embedded in an organization's culture, is integrated in our day-to-day operation. Now, meeting all 5 pillars can have a transformational impact on key outcomes like engagement and turnover. Next slide. Now we have all different types of recognition, but today we're going to discuss the formal, informal, and peer-to-peer. So let's start with formal recognition, the most structured form of acknowledgement. The purpose of formal is to recognize sustained, exceptional contributions aligned with agency goals. It boosts morale, it sets a high standard, and it reinforces core values. Under informal recognition, it doesn't always have to be big or official to be meaningful. The purpose offers immediate, meaningful feedback and encouragement. A timely thank you can often be just as powerful as an award because it creates a form of connection. Now, recognition isn't just from top down, it's most powerful when it's all around us. The purpose empowers employees to celebrate each other's wins. It fosters a sense of camaraderie and promotes accountability and trust. When recognition comes from your peers, it often feels more personal and authentic. Next slide. Now we have a discussion question. Think of the best recognition you've ever received. What made it impactful? And how do you prefer to be recognized? If you'll take some time and you can drop some of your ideas in the chat. And while we get some people to drop something in the chat, I'll just share one of my experiences that how I prefer to be recognized and what has been shared with me in the past. So one of the most impactful recognitions I've ever received wasn't a public award or a formal acknowledgement. It was actually a handwritten note from one of my previous managers. And so after completing a difficult project that involved coordinating multiple teams, and it was definitely under a tight deadline, I received a card that just simply said how they saw how much I held it together behind the scenes and how I made a real difference to the team and the outcome. They thanked me for just showing up very calm and with strength, even though it was definitely a tough project. So always remember that emotional intelligence plays a key role in meaningful recognition. It's about being aware of and sensitive to what matters to everyone.
Miss Maven, we have one comment in the chat from Miss Johnson. She says she appreciates feedback that is timely and specific. And we have a few other comments coming in. Mary says that she got Employee of the Month once, and it really meant a lot to her. And Miss Jones said that public recognition and being acknowledged by peers, cash awards that add value to contributions, and recognition that's unexpected because it was really just doing my job. So a lot of good reflections here. And then let's see, we've got another comment from Carrie. Specificity shows that the person was paying attention and that my contribution had a real impact. Okay, wow, thoughts are really flowing in now. A lot of good comments here. Let me just see what else we can call out. Let's see. Jesse said that the best recognition that they received was done in private and was a simple acknowledgement to the work that they had done. The fact that the person went out of their way made it important and meaningful.
Well, thank you so very much for sharing. A lot of great compliments. So next slide, please. All right, so Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This applied to employee motivation, suggests that employees are driven by a series of needs, progressing from basic survival to self-fulfillment. To motivate employees, organizations should first address their fundamental needs, like fair pay and safe working conditions. Then focus on fostering a sense of belonging, self-esteem, and ultimately opportunities for growth and self-actualization. When applying the hierarchy in practice, organizations should understand what motivates each employee as needs can vary significantly. We should think about creating a supportive environment, ensuring all levels of needs are addressed, from providing competitive salaries to fostering a positive and an inclusive culture. Offer developmental opportunities. We should be investing in employees' training, mentorship, and provide opportunities for challenging projects to foster growth and self-actualization. Now, regularly acknowledge employee achievements and provide feedback to boost self-esteem and motivation. And we encourage work-life balance. Recognize that employees have lives outside of work and support them in achieving a healthy balance, as this can positively impact their motivation and engagement. By understanding and applying Maslow's hierarchy of needs, organizations can create a work environment that fosters motivation, engagement, and ultimately success for both the individual and the organization. Next slide. When aligning recognition with organizational goals, think about using the VA core values, the goals, or competencies as guideposts. Integrity, commitment, advocacy, respect, and excellence. I care should anchor recognition. Tying acknowledgement to these values help employees see how their actions connect to our mission and goals. So think about respect. You could easily say the way you handled that difficult conversation showed great respect and compassion, reinforcing our culture of care. When you consider excellence, your innovative approach to streamlining this process reflects the excellent work we strive for here at VA. By connecting recognition to values, employees understand which actions drive success and recognition. When done with intention, not only motivates individuals, but also strengthens alignment with VA's mission and culture. Next slide. So right now, I'm going to ask you, we have a little activity. So you can use the chat box. List 3 behaviors or actions you want to reinforce within your team and write how you will recognize each behavior. And I know this is going to take some while for you all to think about it. And so while you're thinking about your responses, how can I share with you what my expectations will be? I want to continue to reinforce the importance of collaboration, openly sharing knowledge and resources. Accountability will be another, taking ownership of responsibilities and its outcomes, and having clear, respectful communication, practicing active listening while communicating with transparency and professionalism.
So we have one comment from Kimberly. She says that Teamwork, communication, and dependability are the behaviors that she would like to build. And then we have Jillian says that transparency, accountability, and integrity are the behaviors. And then she will use verbal praise before others, so praising in public, and written praise in performance appraisals.
Thank you so much for sharing. Next slide.
Okay.
So let's discuss the importance of consistency, authenticity, and visibility. You want to reinforce the leader's role in modeling and enabling a recognition culture. Creating a culture where recognition is a natural and powerful part of how we work together requires intention. It's not just about saying thank you. It's about embedding recognition into the way we lead, collaborate, and celebrate one another. A rich recognition culture thrives on three essential pillars. Consistency ensures that recognition isn't reserved for those special occasions and standout moments only. As leaders, we should set the tone by making recognition as a part of our daily leadership rhythm. Whether it's in teams meetings, your one-on-ones, or quick shout outs, frequency builds habit. Being authentic, recognition must be genuine to be meaningful. With this one, we should model sincerity. Take time to understand what each person values and tailor your recognition in a way that resonates. Visibility means recognition should be visible. It lifts not just the recipient, but the whole team. We should publicly spotlight wins and contributions, both big and small. Next slide. Everyday recognition tips. Personalized praise. Tailor recognition to the individual, what they did, and how it made a difference. Public shout outs in our individual team chats or our division chats, it builds a culture of appreciation. In HCS, when an employee is recognized, they are highlighted during our monthly town halls. Depending on which award an employee receives, they are afforded the opportunity to share some words of their appreciation of their accomplishments to all. Next slide. When using technology for recognition, in HRPMO and on the NRT, we use our internal team channel to spotlight small everyday efforts, incorporating emojis to add fun and informal touch to recognition. Now, this approach works well because it provides a quick and scalable way to acknowledge contributions in real time. Within the NRT, we have a strong culture of gratitude, with our team frequently acknowledging peers and submitting them for nominations of recognition. Next slide. This is a good one, pitfalls to avoid. Now, while recognizing efforts is essential, doing it poorly can backfire. Common mistakes like insincerity, favoritism, or delayed recognition can demotivate people and harm the team culture. When you're insincere, it will be good job, team, and keep up the great work. It can be seen as harmful because it feels hollow or forced. It can come off as informality and not necessarily appreciation. So you can avoid this by being specific. Great job on handling the client's call today. Your calm approach kept things on track. We all know about favoritism, only recognizing the same few people, often in visible roles, and overlooking the behind the scenes contributors. It is harmful because it builds resentment and it erodes team cohesion. You can avoid this by tracking who is recognized and diversify your appreciation and recognize different types of contributions, not just outcomes, but efforts and attitudes. Delayed recognition is waiting until the end of the project to say thank you and forgetting to acknowledge wins because of time. It is harmful because it loses emotional impact and feels like an afterthought. We can avoid it by recognizing it in real time or as soon as possible. This would be a perfect opportunity for you to share any examples of pitfalls to avoid that you may have. And I'll pause for a few minutes to see if you want to drop anything within the chat.
So while folks are reflecting on some pitfalls that they might have faced in the past, I want to point out that somebody, Sharon, mentioned that she every Monday makes a habit of sending out VA gratitude messages, which I thought was a good suggestion and best practice. And Jesse suggested that providing opportunities to all team members, not just a select few, will help eliminate favoritism. And Carrie reiterated that she loves the words that you shared about balancing recognition and that there's many different types of achievements to celebrate. And then lastly, we have Neil mention that he tries to ensure to not praise during the same conversation as tasking individuals, which is a good point.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing. Next slide. Okay, so we're going to have a recognition demonstration. And so when we look at it, the scenario is quiet consistency, but often overlooked. And so the context is James, a quiet but dependable team member, consistently completes high quality work and supports others without being asked. So when you think about that, some of the key phrases that you can think of when you're actually having that conversation with your employee, it could possibly say, James, I want you to know how much I value your steady reliability. And your behind the scenes efforts keep our team running. What we have to learn to focus on is inclusive recognition and reaching the less vocal employees, because we all have those team members who are very reliable, dedicated to the work, but they like to be behind the scenes versus in front of the camera at all the spotlight. So the questions I want to raise is, why is it important to recognize steady, dependable team members? And how can we ensure we don't overlook them? So while you're actually dropping something in the chat, I thought about, why is it important for us to recognize steady, dependable team members? I would say first, because they're very consistent, and the stability that they often bring to the team make it seem as if they're the backbone of our team, ensuring that all of our tasks are done reliable and on time. And their consistency actually builds trust within the team. And I would say, how can we ensure not to overlook them? I would say to just check in on them intentionally and just make sure we widen our lens about who's actually getting recognized. So again, we won't just focus on that select few. We'll make sure that the efforts are really, broadened to make sure everybody gets recognized for all of the hard work that they have contributed to our team's success.
So we have some thoughts rolling into the chat. Nafi mentioned that to referencing the DISC personality styles, she said to think of your C style individual. So if participants are familiar with that DISC format, the C employees are the ones who are those quiet contributors, and they still need that type of recognition. And then we have Marie, who commented that even though the people are behind the scenes, their actions are still mission essential.
Thank you so much for that. Next slide. And so, of course, we have another activity. And what this one is, it's recognizing emotional intelligence. The context is, Lena noticed a teammate was unusually quiet during a virtual meeting and followed up to check on him privately, offering support. So the key phrase you can try is, Lena, the way you checked in shows real emotional intelligence. It strengthens our team culture. Our focus should be on emotional intelligence and recognizing care and inclusion. We have someone specifically on our team does a wonderful job of actually recognizing. They just do a drop by and make sure that all things are going good. And I think that's a very important factor to realize when you have team members and when you can kind of watch and see how they display themselves. It's really important for you to make sure we're doing our check-ins. And I know also within my division, we do coffee chats, and that just gives us an opportunity to kind of check in with with our teammates to make sure all is going well, but it also gives you an opportunity to get to know them. So how can we promote recognition for emotional and social contributions, not just task-based ones? And while you all drop a couple of things in the chat, I also want to share, it's important that within our team, we do create birthday, sympathy cards or videos that we can share, just creating a welcoming environment. And so I think that's a good thing for us to do because that's part of that emotional intelligence, making sure we acknowledge someone's birthday, making sure we acknowledge when someone loses a loved one. So I think thinking of all of those things, contributions are very important within a team. So at this time, Ms. Corbett, do we have any comments that was dropped into the chat?
We do. Rhonda mentioned, kind of in line with what you were saying, that motivation is fueled by feeling valued for what you do and seen even when quiet. And Sharon has agreed about understanding other teammates' styles. So really getting to know them and treating them kind of in alignment with that style. And Lorelai has said that in their team, a coworker created a sharing a win of the week during a huddle. So everyone can kind of talk about something that went well for them.
All great ideas. We're going to definitely have to adapt some of those within our own team. So next slide. So each month, the Office of Human Capital Services seeks to recognize those employees who go above and beyond to provide excellent customer service and exude the LIFT principles through its Employee of the Month recognition program. Now, I know that we have been on our monthly town halls where people are getting recognized, and we offer, HCS offers rather, the Avenger Lift Award, the Star Award, the Stellar Team Award, and the Spotlight Award. And these Avenger Awards are monetary or time off awards that recognize individual employees and teams for outstanding achievements, being all around commendable team players and consistently exemplifying the HCS core values, including consistency, agility, accountability, and responsiveness. And those are just a few of the award programs that we have in HCS. And with those, how do you think you might enhance or adjust anything that you do in your current workplace? If you don't mind providing some ideas that we might can take back to make sure that we are adjusting our formal systems in the workplace, or what we can enhance what we already have been doing. So if you don't mind sharing some of those things in the chat that we can share amongst our peers.
So while folks are reflecting on that, I will mention that Maja put a comment in that when they were mentoring, they relied heavily on the Myers-Briggs learning style assessment to get to know one another. They had their own scores, which they shared with the mentees, and then asked the mentee to do that test as well. And so they found that to be very helpful. So we'll just wait a minute to see if any ideas come in about those formal recognition programs. So nothing so far, but I'll just tell the audience if you're still thinking or coming up with some ideas, feel free to add those in. Oh, Ms. Jones said kudos awards is one thing that they use.
Please, and make sure you're providing those. And remember, you can provide those kudos awards to anybody you feel like is making a contribution in your team. effort. So make sure that you're using the HCS award program to make sure that we recognize people that are doing wonderful things. And so next slide. So as leaders, we must be visible, consistent, and encourage peer recognition. So using visibility to listen, to actively listen and demonstrate openness to feedback. We should lead with consistency and applying standards and expectations evenly across our teams. We should follow through on commitments and hold self and others accountable, and ensure communications are clear, concise, and aligned with our organization values. I am happy to say that our team members embrace the culture where team members celebrate each other's contributions. I definitely see where we have an uptick of kudos awards, and we definitely see that our the peers or our teammates offering those gratitude messages, and we cheer others on in our chat. So whenever we have any type of briefings, any type of celebratory things, we definitely highlight them and spotlight them in our team chats, which go a very long way. People like to be seen and valued. And so those things sometimes are just the small things we can do as leaders in order to make sure that we're recognizing our own team members for their efforts. So right now, next slide, please. So we have a discussion question. And so I want everybody to take an opportunity to share your thoughts, because this is an opportunity for us to commit to doing something specific when it comes to recognition. And so what's one recognition practice you'll commit to starting next week? And I know on the spot questions sometimes are hard to think about, but what is it that you can do that you'll practice to commit starting next week within your teams as far as recognition is concerned?
So while those reflections are coming in, Ms. Mabin, if you wouldn't mind, I'm just going to give some context to the Kudos Awards program, because I know we've got some folks here on the call that are outside of HCS. So for those of you who might not be familiar with that, the Kudos Awards program is a peer-to-peer program that HCS runs, where it's simply a Microsoft form where a employee can nominate and kind of just give a shout out in a more formalized way to somebody that they feel is exemplified some of those HCS core values. And then that form generates an email to the employee supervisor and the employee. So it's a nice little informal way to get that information distributed. So, okay, we've got some great commitments coming into the chat, and we've got recognition using the praise feature in Teams. That's a fantastic tool. Quick shout outs during team huddles. Again, using that praise feature in Teams, using the VA gratitude tool at least twice, and use the iCare award write-ups and shout outs and team praise. And then Sharon says that she wants to make sure to reach out to those more quiet individuals and get them recognized. Angela is going to continue to use the VA Gratitude app to send those emails. And she says that it's a nice surprise to receive an email like that, and to reflect on it later when she needs to feel uplifted. And then we have Neil is saying that he'll provide verbal recognition to an employee each week, so it becomes more of a conversation, which will build stronger relationships.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I will say that since I've been here in HCS and out of all the places that I've actually worked, this is one of the best awards program or recognition programs that I've seen. So it is very important. I mean, it was important for me to see it. And so now as a leader in my own division, it is important for me to make a more conscious effort to make sure I recognize them. Because now after doing so much research for this actual presentation, it made me think about the fact that just a thank you will not always do. So you want to make sure that you're being very intentional with the way you approach recognition and just making sure everybody that, feels valued on your team. So for me, I'm going to commit, what I thought about is committing to a competency spotlight. Instead of saying thank you, link it back to one of our competencies. And so this habit makes it visible, it makes it consistent, and it will definitely build competency build. So for me, that is something I'm going to commit to and start next week. And not just saying thank you, making sure that the members of our team definitely feel valued, seen, and heard. And so next slide. So the final takeaways. So think about this a way to think about the whole presentation. Recognition boosts performance and morale. Everyone plays a role. And so it just doesn't start from the top up, the top down, excuse me. And so everyone plays a role. So you can start small, but stay consistent. Consistency is going to be key. Next slide. I've included references and resources that inform today's discussion. These are here for you to explore further if you would like to dig deeper into the research and best practices we've talked about. Next slide. That actually wraps up the main content. And now I would like to open the floor for any questions that you may have or any comments that you would like to include into the chat.
I did want to highlight one of the things that I think it was Sharon who mentioned in a couple chats back, but she said one of the tools that her office has is a employee of the month parking spot. So that would be a nice perk for that return to office. You get a special parking spot. I'm assuming it's closer to the building, so helps out with getting in there in the mornings.
It is something really neat to have. And I think we did that at one of our previous organizations. So I guess now with the return to work policy, if you have a location where you have your own parking space and don't have to cover that cost, that will be something neat to have. Because trust me, on a rainy day, in one of those days, that will become definitely a plus in order to have that type of recognition and that you can actually utilize it. So if we don't have any more questions in the chat, I want to thank you all for joining and engaging in today's session, and I will yield the floor back to Ms. Burnett. And thank you so much for your assistance today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ms. Mabin, for being with us today and providing these fantastic resources. I'm going to be placing a link to a Microsoft Forms in the chat. And like I mentioned, we would love to have your feedback. If you wouldn't mind taking a moment to share your thoughts with us. And additionally, I will be sending out a follow-up email after today's session, and that will include the link, or excuse me, the link to the survey, but also the handout once again, as well as today's slides. So please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Otherwise, that concludes our presentation for today, and we thank you so much for being with us, and I hope you have a great Monday. Bye-bye.